And welcome back to the Hot Lap, and we are talking what was a crazy qualifying. Yeah, we all thought McLaren, yes, they did end up on pole, but we thought, yeah, we kind of know what's going to happen. Going into Friday, Verstappen struggled, but he didn't. He was looking good. Ferrari were looking okay. McLaren were looking awesome. Mercedes were looking okay. And then, not quite turned on its head, but craziness ensued. So first of all, congratulations. Yes, congratulations to Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri and all McLaren front row. Lando Norris on pole again alongside his teammate. This time no team orders. I think the only team orders is not to hit each other because that would be quite bad. Because yes, Leclerc did not have a good qualifying. Simply, well, we'll get into that in a bit. But the other Ferrari is not that far away. And if we're talking here, P3 for Carlos Sainz and P14 for Charles Leclerc. Obviously, in terms of the grid, Charles Leclerc has a 10-place grid penalty. So he's going to be near the back, but not right at the back because Williams are also going to be need to changing things on their car. And their penalty, I think, is applied after. So that might bump Leclerc up the grid a bit. Now, why was Charles Leclerc 14th? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because he breached those track limits. Slightly controversial maybe though, because so did Perez, but he didn't. And so did Oscar Piastri, but he didn't, because both their times were reinstated. Having said that, it was really close. And I can only assume we did have that one camera angle, which was a good camera angle. You kind of, I think qualifying results have just come out, but you kind of need almost like a bird's eye camera angle just to be 110% sure. And here is the camera angle here of, this is Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc. So, Charles Leclerc, very obviously there. Sergio Perez, it's so hard to tell, isn't it? It is, I mean, it is really hard to tell. To be fair to Perez, he questioned it and he got reinstated. But with Leclerc, I think you can see, like, the turquoise line there, that is a stone bonker. And even on Twitter, people are saying for Charles, unfortunately, it's very close over the white line. For Checo, it's a really fine line. I'd say it was just off as well, but that's my opinion. Very close call. For me, Charles is out, unfortunately. So, yeah. Wow, both out. Leclerc is out. They need some sort of... Yeah, Leclerc's out, Perez in easy. So, that seems to be the general consensus. But you could make an argument for them both being out. But, yeah, Perez just... I mean, I would like to see another angle, but, I'll stomach that. Fair enough. Fair enough, Sergio Perez. Then let's come on to Lewis Hamilton versus the Bollard. Yes, I'm sure he's calling that Bollard another B word, but there we go. So this was Lewis Hamilton versus the Bollard. As you can see, the Bollard's underneath him there as he qualified. Towards the end of the lap, one of the Haas drivers, I believe it was Kevin Magnussen, tried to get out of the way, did a whoopsie-daisy, hitting the Bollard onto the track just as Lewis was coming around the corner. Here, you can see it here. Whoopsie-daisy, not good. Silly boy. Kevin, silly boy, but then he was doing his best to try and get out of the way, and then he supposedly, according to Haas, he damaged his own car and hurt his own qualifying. There he is, just before hitting that Bollard, and there is the Bollard, clear as day. To be fair, it kind of matches Hamilton's turquoise of his car, doesn't it? But there's the Bollard, clear as day, underneath Lewis's car. Yeah, Hamilton and the Bollard. So... that is why Lewis Hamilton did not do a particularly good job in qualifying. He was up on that lap. I mean, Anthony Davidson did go in on the Skypad, and it was quite clear he was up until that point. But he wasn't having the greatest lap, simply because if any of you heard Toto Wolf's interview, which we'll get a snippet of in a second, Lewis Hamilton, they brought him out far too late. And he really struggled to get any space. And he was behind, I think, one of the Alpines, getting all that dirty air. You can see the Alpine there. Not particularly good. And this is Toto Wolff. He's quite angry about it, actually. Let's listen to him.
Yeah, I just need to apologize to Lewis, also to everyone in the team that worked so hard in making it a great end for him. He was the quicker guy with that kind of setup that we choose on the car.
Now, what's interesting is he is the quicker guy, and so even George Russell came out and said he was struggling. He expected Lewis to potentially fight for a podium position tomorrow. From where he is, it's unlikely. Having said that, Verstappen, yes, it was in the wet, won from quite far back in Brazil with safety cars. There are safety cars here, as we full well know. I'm not. Yeah, I'm most certainly not going to be bringing that one up. But
Also to experiment for next year, and we totally let him down.
okay, they totally let him down. They totally let Lewis
Idiotic,
down.
Mistake
Yep.
of not going earlier.
Yeah, and not going early, because then by not going early, there was a crowd of cars. I think you saw Liam Lawson as well in Q2 really struggling, and it was a bit embarrassing really for Mercedes in his last ever qualifying for Mercedes. The man that has over 100 pole positions.
Inexcusable. I'm rarely been so down about what was happened.
7th and 18th.
Maybe summarizes the last races we had with him, but this is the worst part of it, because it was just idiotic. Yeah,
There you go, idiotic. I mean, yeah, clearly Toto Wolf not happy. And I completely understand. Whoops-a-daisy from Mercedes. I think you've got to blame Mercedes for that, and very much less Lewis Hamilton. But this guy, at the moment, in P4, yes, he was summoned by the stewards for an infringement, which I'll probably, if I remember, I'll check before the end of the show. But well done, Nico Hulkenberg, you sexy beast. You have got up there. You are qualified at the moment, and at the time recording, on the 7th of December, Saturday, at 5 o'clock. You are 4th. Congratulations. So Tsunoda, here's something quite interesting. Yuki Tsunoda has out-qualified Liam Lawson in every qualifying session this year. Now, I like Liam Lawson. I really, really do. I want him to go to Red Bull. Taking my non-biased hat off, is it difficult now to justify him going to Red Bull? That's the problem. Simply because Yuki Tsunoda has out-qualified him in every qualifying session this year so far. And then you got to beg the question: why isn't Yuki going instead? Maybe Liam needs another year or a full year in VCARB or RB or whatever it's called next year. Tsunoda needs a year in the Red Bull to see if he's the man, and if he's not, hey, you're Red Bull. Prior to obviously Perez joining them, they're quite happy to swap back to his teammates, aren't they? So also Alonso finishes 2024 with more Q3 appearances than Perez. Yeah, work that one out. Arguably one of the fastest cars over the course of the year. More Q3 from the Aston Martin, which, let's be honest, has not been very fast, has it? We spoke about Alonso saying it's the worst car yesterday and throwing his toys out of the pram, as do other drivers, but Alonso's very good at it, isn't he? Here is the grid then, finally. So we've got Norris on pole. We have Piastri. We've got Piastri in second. We've got Carlos Sainz in third, Hulkenberg fourth, Verstappen all the way down in fifth. Now, to be fair, I thought Verstappen had a chance at pole. We had that lap. His first lap in Q3 was absolutely immense, especially at the end. He nearly stacked it into the pit wall. Fantastic car control from Max there. And I'm wondering whether that messed with his head going into the next qualifying, going into his next run in Q3. He did improve, I think, by 0.004, but he got 2 yellow sectors, meaning slower than his best in the first 2. So it was close. Gasly is sick. Well done to that. I mean, these two here, 4th, Hulkenberg and 6th, Gasly. It's going to be an almighty battle. 7th, Russell. 8th, Alonso. I mean, Russell himself, he came out and said, I'm not as fast as Lewis Hamilton here. So 9th was Bottas, 10th is Sergio Perez, 11th was Yuki Tsunoda, 12th was Lawson, so only just out qualifying him, starting on the 6th row. 13th is Stroll, again qualified by Alonso. The Aston does look a bit better here, but massive congratulations as well to this guy here, Bottas. Where was that speed for the rest of the year? I mean, he's just come out there. Well done. So we've got Strong, we've got in 13th, Magnussen 14th, Zhou in 15th. We've got Hamilton 16th, simply because of the Leclerc penalty, and Albon and Colapinto at 18th and 20th, although he already out-qualified him, didn't he? Doohan in 17th, and then obviously Leclerc 19th, Albon 18th, and Colapinto in 20th. Oh, that one really breaks my heart, Hamilton there. Not good at all, but we did get Bottas in Q3. We did get Hulkenberg in Q3, and at one point he was on provisional pole, if you could believe it, before obviously Sainz beat him, and then Norris and Piastri. But he's out-qualified Max Verstappen. I mean, that, who would have predicted that going into qualifying? You may have suggested it. It may have been hinted upon come Friday at the end of free practice too, but wow. They did do, I think, good things to that Red Bull overnight. Red Bull are really good at doing that, sorting their car out overnight, and they've clearly done it. But this is what Max said about the car. This is what Max said about his championship-winning 2024 car. Shove the car in a museum and never touch it again. I could understand if you were Lewis and you hadn't won any races in it or won the chip, but I always think when drivers do this, it's not just Max, but he's said it now. What a massive middle finger to the factory dog that have tried really hard. It's just because Adrian Newey. I mean, you have to start to wonder if the frustration of maybe not having a championship car in 2025 has already begun. This is final qualifying head-to-head, which I thought was interesting. So, Verstappen 23-1 to Perez, Bottas 21-3 to Zhou, Norris 20-4 to Piastri, Russell 19-5 to Hamilton. Who would have guessed that? Alonso 19-5 to Stroll. Most would have guessed that. Hulkenberg 16-6 to Magnussen. Magnussen, though, a lot of that has been achieved in this part, the final quarter of the year. Leclerc 14-9 to Sainz, fairly dominant. Ocon 13-10 to Gasly. So Ocon out-qualifies Gasly, but he's the one that goes. Albon 7-2 to Colapinto, and Tsunoda 6-0 to Lawson, which is something I am sure he's going to be happy about. So, just quickly getting your lowdown on the grid then. On pole, we've got Norris, Piastri alongside him. Third is Sainz. Fourth is Hulkenberg. Fifth is Verstappen. Sixth is Pierre Gasly. Seventh, Russell. Eighth, Alonso. Ninth, well done, Bottas. And well done, Hulkenberg, of course. 10th is Sergio Perez. Not bad, at least he's in Q3. 10th, 11th, Tsunoda. 12th, Lawson. 13th, Lance Stroll. 14th, Magnussen. 15th, Zhou. 16th, Hamilton. 17th, Doohan. 18th, Albon. 19th, Leclerc, and 20th, Colapinto. If you like what you see, please give us a subscribe. In terms of prediction, who's going to win the race? Well, it'd be hard-pressed not to think a McLaren is potentially going to win. But you never know what's going to happen at the first corner. How fast is Max Verstappen? How good is that Ferrari on its tyres? Is Hulkenberg going to play or going to get in the mix? Russell starting directly behind Max Verstappen. Feud. And if you want to go feud, he's in, 5th, 7th and 9th, all starting, behind each other. Russell is in a feud sandwich, if you remember, that Verstappen's not a particular fan, and him and Bottas come 2021 Imola, where he hit Bottas on the head. So it's going to be interesting. What can Hamilton do if he gets a decent start? Will Perez finish any higher than he started? I'd like to think he would, in what could be Perez's last ever race. It could be Bottas's last ever race, Magnussen's last ever race, Zhou's last ever race, Colapinto's last ever race, Sainz's last ever race in a Ferrari, Hamilton's last ever race in a Mercedes, Hulkenberg's last ever race in the Haas. I mean, I'm sure I've not missed too many people out. To be fair, it could be either Tsunoda or Lawson's last race in the RB. It's going to be exciting. Stay tuned. I'm looking forward to talking about the race. We will speak to you soon. Stay safe, and thank you very much.